not saying I'm proud of anything. That's why we're here,
Right.
is that this is a very I'm not proud of what happened.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Bad Times Good Stories podcast. My name is Joe Flanders. I hope you're doing well. I feel like death, and I probably look like death. Got myself a case of the flu. It's been fun. And it couldn't have come at a better time as I'm visiting family in North Carolina first, and now I'm back in Ohio. And just having a ball. I actually have really enjoyed spending time with my family, but doing it with the flu is tough. But I am feeling better knowing that you guys get to listen to an awesome episode of the show. Today, I have Magdalene Vick, who I've known since college. She's a very funny and talented actress and comedian. You may know her from her frequent collaborations with Ray William Johnson, the Facebook comedian and sketch maker. She's been in a bunch of his videos, but she's a lot more than that, and we talk about that. She's a very talented actress who's done a bunch of movies and TV and theater, and we talk about all that. But what we're mainly talking about is Maggie's Me Too story. And this happened to her before the movement really began. And what makes this story sort of unique is that when a guy who was pretending to be invested in her career when she first moved to LA thrust himself on her, she resisted the first time and then thought about it for a couple days and came to the conclusion that, okay, I'll play your game. I will have sex with you in exchange for getting me the stuff that you're promising. And she's really open about it, which I think is really cool and really brave. Again, this was before the Me Too movement, and she just moved to LA, and sadly just figured that was how things go out here, and decided to play along, so to speak, and continued seeing this guy for several years. And we just talk about what that did to her psyche and her self-worth and all the things that happened as a result of that. But she definitely kind of came out the other side, as often is the case with these guests, which is why I love doing this podcast. It was definitely a low point for her, I think, but she's come out the other side, and I think is really proud of the stuff she's doing now, and she should be. So a really great conversation, and I hope you guys enjoy it. If you do, give us that 5-star rating on iTunes, please. And you can email me at badtimesgoodstoriespodcast@gmail.com. Let me know what you think of the episode, or any episode, or anything. You can also go to badtimesgoodstoriespod.com for past episodes, merch, and a link to the Patreon page. That's all I've got for now, so without further ado, here's my conversation with Magdalene Vick. How are you?
Life is good. Life is good. I mean, the weather got a lot better, so that's lovely and amazing.
It is lovely.
Oh my gosh. It really does change your whole dynamic.
Yeah, it does. Growing up in the Midwest, I would have my brother actually, and I wish I had known about it. He would get one of those sun lamps.
Oh God. Oh wow. Yeah,
it's just so cloudy in the Midwest.
Yeah.
I mean, you're from Kansas City.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so you get it. But it's nice it's amazing what just some sunshine can do.
Oh my God. Yeah. It kind of takes that depression and makes you feel even worse for feeling that way because it's so nice out.
Exactly. So a lot of people know you as a frequent collaborator with Ray William Johnston?
Johnston.
Is that his name?
No,
Johnson?
It's Johnson.
Johnson. Okay.
Yeah, but Johnston sounds a lot fancier. Whoever is going to use that name, Ray William Johnston.
The third.
Yeah, exactly. He wears little crown in the videos. I love it. No, yes. Yeah, I work a lot with him in sketches. That's kind of how I got my start in the sketch world. But my background is in theater, and yeah.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I mean, we went to college together. I've known you for a number of years. You're obviously a lot more than just the girl in the
I
Ray
am
videos.
more than that girl.
But I just wanted to give the audience some context.
Exactly. Yes. Most people do know me from that.
How did you start working with him?
Actually, funny enough, we met on a plane, and I thought I had no idea who he was, and I decided to try to school him in acting.
Really?
Yeah, it was. I had no idea, so I was like, "Well, here I am. I just went to conservatory, so let me tell you what I know."
Yeah, we got a couple hours to kill.
And what was remarkable is that, like, never once did he make me feel like he was better than me, or that, like, it was actually amazing. He listened. It was like, and for someone of that, he was like one of the first YouTubers. He had all that behind him, all that success. And yet he was still able to just, like, listen to a stranger who's, trying to give him advice. I just thought that was amazing. Then I got home and I was like, blah, blah, blah. I was like, he's actually, and then funny enough, we re-met on Tinder.
Okay.
Back in the yeah. So
this was after the flight?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you go out on a date?
Yeah, we did. But then we quickly realized that we were better friends.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
And collaborators and such?
Yeah.
It's such a fascinating thing because, I mean, he's incredibly successful and has a large following, but we're also, I feel like entertainment is so fragmented that there's so many people who are at his level who I've never heard of in my life.
Oh, totally.
And it's so interesting.
Totally.
And like my cousin is the rock star the lead singer of a rock band called Black Veil Brides, and they tour the world and they've had, platinum records. But on a day-to-day basis, he doesn't get recognized all the time.
No. I think
and
that's actually the best.
Oh, I think so too. Yeah, and that's what he said.
I mean, be able to rake in that money and still be able to go to the grocery store
exactly.
and
And it's just so funny because even like on a much lesser scale, like his involvement with Average Joe and everything, like if I go to his shows, I feel like a celebrity because in that context.
Oh, totally.
And it's very flattering that people, care enough to say hi or, want a picture or anything. But in no other source. So I have this like very small tease of what that must feel like to anybody who's got that level of popularity where you could go a couple days without being noticed and then maybe 5 days in a row somebody's going crazy because they met you.
Yeah.
I don't know. It must be a very interesting thing to kind of... And I could imagine it could be hard to kind of stay grounded on some level because you do have this notoriety, but then maybe not being recognized is a way to kind of bring you back down to just being an even keel person. I have no idea.
Which is what we all are, and what we all strive to be. And everyone who doesn't have that, all of those like high profile celebrities, really wish that they could just go to the store and get some milk.
Be a person.
And talk to someone without them wanting something from you, which is enormous.
Yeah. Yeah. So how long have you been working with Ray?
I guess for about 3 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is really cool. And, and I've learned so much from him and what he does. And now I'm doing my own, which I'm very, very excited about. I'm still working with Ray. I think he's amazing. So I hope that we continue to collaborate.
Sure.
But now I'm empowered and I'm writing, and I didn't even know that I could write. Now I'm writing. And it's funny because you have to get over that hump of like, oh, this is something that I can't do. Mm-hmm. And then you just do it.
Yeah.
You just sit down and you're like, oh, and then you're like, oh my God, I'm much better at this than I thought I was.
Right.
And yeah, so
well,
it's magical, and I'm really proud, and it's coming along, and I'm excited.
Great. Well, wonderful. So now that we have some context, when I email anybody about coming on the show, I generally ask them to just send a few, a couple sentence synopsis of a few options, and I was really drawn to your sort of sabotaging love theme. I guess.
Yeah.
Kind of self-sabotaging.
Of course,
Yeah.
because who doesn't love a good self-sabotaging?
Okay. Because I did that to a degree too, but I think in a different way. So I'm curious. So let's just kind of dive into it.
Okay. Well, when I first got your thing and I started thinking about what to talk about, I was like, okay, here are these deep things. And then, sabotage. Who doesn't love a good love story?
Yes.
Who doesn't, everyone's got these romantic issues going on. Everyone fantasizes about these wild things. Am I loved? Am I not? But I feel like the more important thing are the things that you don't want to talk about.
Yes, that is the absolute theme of this show.
Exactly. And so I think that my experiences with a male producer in particular, I think are going to be more valuable.
Oh, okay.
For anyone to know.
Okay.
To listen, because what's the point in having, something to say if you can't help people
Right.
and all this, especially in this climate today.
Yes, definitely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like no one needs another love story to help them get through another.
Right.
I mean, go listen to an Ariana Grande album.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Is she the one that you can meet in the middle?
Is that right?
her?
I don't know.
Why don't you just meet me in the middle?
I don't know. They're all that. Ariana Grande is thank you next. Thank you next. It's probably way off key. I'm really sorry.
Well, that's not the issue. Believe me. I don't know. Oh, but if it were in the right tune, perhaps I would know it.
Exactly.
Anyway, I've cut you off.
No. But I think it's more important to talk about, the experiences that I went through, that other people have went through, and in my case, nothing really came of it. And I feel like all these cases of women coming forward, they were either mega movie stars or whatever, but no one has really come and said, oh, this happened to me, and absolutely nothing came of it.
Right.
I'm not saying I'm proud of anything. That's why we're here,
Right.
is that this is a very I'm not proud of what happened, but, or what transpired, but there are so many people that this has happened to, and they don't have any voice.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because only the mega superstars, the movie stars, the celebrities, have any clout. So, I just wanted to share, these experiences that I went through.
Please.
And, they were very, it was just, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Do you have any, specific questions about it, or should I just kind of go into?
Yeah, I guess just to paint the picture, does this happen in LA?
Yes.
When you moved here?
Yeah, when I
Okay.
moved here. So it was about 2013.
And just for some context, so you went to North Carolina School of the Arts, studied drama.
Yes.
Being an actress, I'm
I'm
that's
a
been
good freaking actress.
You
I
are.
take it very seriously.
I really enjoyed your scenes on I'm Dying Up Here.
Thank you very much.
I
I
wish that show
appreciate
was still
that.
on. I really
I
enjoyed
do too.
really
I thought
enjoyed
it was
it.
really great.
And the way that they ended the series. Anyway, again, I've gotten off topic.
It's okay.
So yes,
But
that's
yes,
kind of your background.
so yeah, I've been professionally acting since, high school. I did a trilogy back-to-back in repertory at the Kansas City Actors Theater of Lanford Wilson's plays. I'm not just someone from the Midwest trying to come here and get
Right.
famous is the point.
Exactly.
So yeah, it was about 2013 and I got here and I'm all wide-eyed, but I also came from New York. So I got balls.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Thank goodness I went to New York, because I really was able to just kind of at least have an alligator skin is what I called it.
Exactly right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was about 2013 and I was working at this hotel and I met this guy. I am not going to say his name because I don't feel comfortable. I'm not that kind of person. Maybe that'll change, whatever. But
You want to give him a fake name?
let's call him Bill Edwards.
Bill Edwards.
Okay. No relation to your uncle. Okay, so I met this guy, Bill, and he was very charming, very like almost like a dad like figure. And he seemed to really take an interest in my career. Mm-hmm. And, he was like, oh, here's my number. Let's get together and have a chat.
Okay.
And so...
Did he say what he did or anything?
Yeah. I mean, he's a producer. He produced, at the time, one of the best television series that existed. Okay. He actually, won for, best dramatic television series. Okay. So, in my eyes, I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. How did this happen?
This is why I moved out here.
I know. It's happening. I'm meeting the best of the best.
Yeah.
And so he took me out to this amazing place to have lunch. And I just felt like the belle of the ball. And he was, all these people were coming up to him and introducing themselves. And then he would have them, meet me, they would introduce to me. Yeah. And then he'd be like, well, he would be like, I don't know who they are. Or I don't remember. And I'm like, ha, 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 ha. Yeah. Here, I know, I feel like on the inside, I'm like on the inside.
Yeah.
And, and we talked about, who I needed to meet. And he would make a list of all these people that I needed to meet. And this is what I needed to do and blah, blah, blah. And then he slipped me a Nike gift card.
Okay.
And he was like, well, I know you like running. And I was like, wow, this is so awesome. And it was for a pretty good amount. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy not only cares about my career, but I'm a runner. He cares about me. And, and we've only met one other time or something. And then, he'd be like, okay, let's, text and meet again. And then we would text and it would kind of be not overly personal, but just enough that you feel like, wow, you're really getting a bond with this person. And he's somebody in the business. And then we'd meet again. And then it was a Bed Bath & Beyond gift card. And it was also, and I was like, oh my God. He's like, well, I know you like, coffee and get a nice coffee maker. And I was like, okay. I was like, this is great. And then I'm like, okay, well, when do I get to, I would love to meet these people. And have you seen my work? Did you watch the reel that I sent you? And, oh yes. Yeah, it was really good. And on the fourth time that we met for one of these lunches, I'm like, okay, am I ever going to meet these people? And so he set up one meeting and I went and I talked with this casting director who is unbelievable, in my eyes, one of the best casting directors. And yet when I met her, it was like she was doing a favor for him.
And made that clear to you.
And it made it very clear.
Yeah.
And it was so... I mean, who am I to get in that room, right? I didn't show her anything. I understand if I was her, I'd probably feel the exact same way. Who is this male guy throwing me all these girls to see?
Right.
Probably more than just me.
Sure.
And even though I didn't want to believe it at the time. Mm-hmm. And so then it was mostly all right, well, reformat your resume and good luck. Mm-hmm. Well, at least I got to say that I'd gone to the casting office. I mean, that was cool.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, woo, okay. So, so that, it was baby steps in that kind of scenario. And then what really was interesting was, I think about the fifth time that we hung out. And I'm like, okay, this guy, he really, really cares about me and what I'm doing. And then we meet at this hotel and it's at night and we're getting a drink and we're laughing like we're friends and like I've known him forever. What are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Silly.
Sure.
And
you met at the hotel bar?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he's like, okay. And then he kind of gets close to my face and it was kind of kissed me, but I didn't really do anything. I was like, what? And then we just cover that up and went back. And then he was like, oh, well, I'll walk you to your car. And I was like, okay. And he walked me to my car and he kissed me. and it was heartbreaking. It was like everything just kind of like blew up in my face, and I was like, what? This is what it is? This is what it is?
This was a long con. Yeah.
And I remember I went home, and days on end, I'm an avid journaler, and I just journaled. I was like, I don't know what curse words I can say on this podcast, but I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, this can't be. I was so mad. I was like, if he's doing this, then I'm going to do that. And like, he's doing it, and I should get that. And I was so mad and trying to process it. And also like, it's maybe a year into LA, and I'm like, okay. And then I was like, okay. And Joe, this is where the bad times and good laughter, which will come later. Sure. Good laughter will come. That's fine. I was like, okay. I was like, well, this is how the game is played. Mm-hmm. He put it in there. Mm-hmm. And this is how the game is played. And that's when I started to play that game. Okay. And yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'm not proud of it at all.
Sure.
At all.
Oh. So how did you initiate that? Did you?
Well, you continue to. I didn't really need to initiate much, Joe.
Okay.
It was already in the mix. There was not, are you okay with this? This wasn't, hey, let me check in. Mm-hmm. This was, and so then, so then the lunches started to be less public. Mm-hmm. And that's when I was like, okay, this is strange. And then it was like, okay, well, he'd occasionally introduce me to people, but as the year went by, and this went on for a couple years, it really stopped. Once he knew that I was there and up for the game, it was... he didn't really have to try much harder. The only way that he had to try was he decided to pay for classes for me.
For you, acting classes?
He decided to pay for acting classes. He thought that was a good idea. Mm-hmm. I have already had so much experience. I was professionally acting, all this. I understand acting is a muscle. It's great. But I would rather use that money to make stuff, which I'm doing now.
Exactly.
Than to continue to, take these classes. But anyway, they were like $600 classes, and he would start meeting me at my house, mm-hmm. where I wanted to talk about stuff, but then we'd have to have sex. Mm-hmm. And it was so painful every time because I wanted to talk about my career. And then it was like, a 30-minute window of him getting there, having sex, and then talking. It didn't even... And then he, like a prostitute, left money for classes.
For the classes, yeah.
And I tried to justify this so much to myself.
I'm sure. Well, yeah, that's the internal struggle here must be so great, in that that you have the skills to do this for a living.
Yeah.
You shouldn't need to be doing this.
Right.
And I'm sure outside of your interactions with him, you're making efforts in other ways to try and get in the door, or, whatever, or...
Exactly. Oh my God.
So it's kind of just
exactly. I was trying, but I wasn't trying that hard because this was the guy that was on top of the world. Right. I thought literally, I was like, wow, this is my end. And he took me to a Golden Globe party, mm-hmm. and here I am. And literally Tom Hanks goes, hi, I'm Tom. Mm-hmm. Rita Wilson, hi, I'm Rita. Hi, I'm Maggie. David O. Russell, Jennifer Lawrence. I'm meeting everyone I've ever dreamed about being. Right. And being taken seriously. And he, to his credit, he introduced me as Magdalene Vick. And, mm-hmm. And then, I was just like starstruck and so excited about my career. And then, walked to the car, and then he wants stuff in the car.
Right.
And I resisted. And I didn't do it. And then he's angry. And then what is all this? And then there's all this other stuff on top of it.
Right. Yeah. Because then he's saying, I just took you to this thing and I did that. And
Exactly.
And yeah, I mean, that just seems like such a tailspin to be in the middle of, because like you said, technically, I mean, you were meeting people, but it was in the most degrading way possible.
Totally. And I really thought, that my talent was going to inspire him to really do something and help me. Mm-hmm. But it didn't, and then I played the game too, cause I kept wanting him to be in my life, because I thought, that it was going to help. I thought this is what you did.
Right.
And so it was a journey. Oh my goodness. And then it became more of the game, and like my mom would come in town and he'd want to meet my mom.
Oh wow. Okay.
So then this producer of a leading TV series, invited us to this beautiful place for dinner, and he meets my mom, and I'm walking around in a mini skirt knowing that he had sex with me, and my mom had no idea. And it was
how did you guys introduce him to your mom? Was it just like, oh, he's like my mentor or helping me?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, was he married?
I believe so. He said he was separated at the time. Mm-hmm. But it was also super degrading walking in those places, and some of his colleagues or people that knew him would give him an eye, kind
of like that wink, like
that go. Well, not even at a go, but just like, yeah, how's the wife or something. But they'd never look at me. And then of course I would bring it up, and he was like, "Oh, we're separated. We live in different houses," and stuff like that. And it was. I mean, I don't even know.
So, I want to go back to to the moment where you decided you were going to play the game. Mm-hmm. Like how, so your initial reaction when he kissed you and he walked you to the car was anger and everything else. And then how did that play out? Was it over the course of just like a couple hours? You were like, you know what?
Oh God, no. I mean, no, I went several days. I mean, that I had to journal through that and be like, what the fuck? Like, this is LA. This is what I have to do. Mm-hmm. And I really didn't have anyone around me at that moment to really help me. And also I was extremely embarrassed.
Yeah.
I didn't, this was not something I wanted to say to anybody. I didn't want to admit this. I didn't want to, I had already told people, hey, I am good friends with this amazing, producer, and he's going to help me. And then all of a sudden he's doing all this stuff, which is everything that everyone thought that he was going to do. Mm-hmm. So it would be, proving them right.
Right.
And I'm, young in the business and I'm talented. The last thing I want to do is admit that someone wanted to do that to me.
Right. That you fell trapped to this trope that everyone talks about.
Exactly. And it's I'm so grateful that it is a trope that everyone talks about now.
Right.
Because I feel a lot better about, being public with it. Mm-hmm. I mean, the main thing though, Joe, that I really want people to know is that it happens to so many people, and that it's not just the famous people. There are so many people that have had no co-star, guest star, series regulars, leading roles, none at all, that have just lived with this secret in their lives because they're ashamed with it, and it did not help them.
Right.
Sometimes, you've heard stories of people sleeping their way to the top. A lot of people sleep their way nowhere. Mm-hmm. And it's extremely degrading. And And on the flip side, which is great, which is, post all of this, which we can go back and talk about it if you like, but post all of this, now I'm working harder than I've ever worked before. And I am empowered. I trust my talent. Do I think I'm going to be famous like I could have if that might have happened and he put me in a show? I don't know. But at least I trust myself more. Exactly. And I know that whatever I earn in this business, I've earned it. You know what I mean?
And that's incredibly empowering.
It's incredibly empowering, which is much, I'm grateful for that experience. I mean, you learn that's the point of your, podcast, is that you learn from the bad things that happen in your life.
Yeah, exactly.
And to be fair, like a lot of people like me who have gone through this won't come forward to say it because it's really embarrassing. And you want to blame them, and you can blame them. But I also have to take responsibility, like you said, when I decided I'm going to play the game.
Right. Well, and I really admire you for doing that. This is not where I thought we were going today, and I'm really glad that you decided, that this is what you wanted to talk about.
I think that it's really important.
Yeah.
And it's not about, pointing fingers, because we all have our own guilt. We all have our own issues. I am guilty of it, but I'm also guilty of being taken advantage of.
Right.
So it's there.
So how long did this go on?
Like 2.5 years, 3 years maybe. The end of it was me texting him, trying to connect and see what he thought or had any apology. And oh my God, I tried so many times to get him to apologize. I remember calling him and being like, well, what did you think this was? I called him and I said that, and he like pulled this like, oh, well, I thought you were really, attracted to me. Well, this man is significantly older. I mean, significantly, maybe even older than my mom. And I believe people can actually be in love, sure. Right. But I had been talking to him about my career the whole time. How could he not?
Right. It's ridiculous for him to think that, because all of what he was bringing to the table was what he could do for your career. It sounds like.
Exactly.
So it's ridiculous for him to think otherwise.
Right.
And so when you called to say what else, what did you think this was?
Oh my gosh.
What was that in response to?
Well, it was around the time when everyone was coming forward.
Okay.
And I just wanted to talk to him, to realize like the human in people. You know what I mean? We're all so human.
Yeah.
That we have human flaws. We just fucking admit it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I was just crying, and I was like, it was like, Bill Edwards, why did you do this? Like, why did you not help me? I know you could have helped me more. And, and I know it's selfish of me to be like, why didn't you, make me a star, to place blame on that. But that's honestly, I moved here in 2013. I met him then. I had really no other foundation that I knew of how to pursue a career in LA,
What was his response to why hadn't he done more?
He claimed that he couldn't. He claimed that he didn't, it wasn't his decision. Okay. And we all know that that is completely wrong.
Yes. Yeah.
Because he could have put me at least as a one-liner. He could have brought me to set. He could have introduced me to people on set. It was like, after a point, there weren't any more Golden Globes parties. I mean, yeah.
Well, and you said it may have been selfish for you, but at the same time, this basically was just a transactional relationship, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in exchange for, being with him, he was supposed to help, and
Yeah, that's the way that I had seen it, and that's almost verbatim what I did tell him on that phone call. And and then he just played the victim card and was like, "Oh, I didn't know this was what you wanted. I thought you really liked me," and blah blah blah, and yeah.
Well, I don't want to harp on it too much, but I just did you ever actually, like you said, he got angry if you refused to have sex or anything? Were you ever actually like fearful?
No, it was never a rape. It was never a rape. I want that to be very, known.
Yeah.
This was a choice I made.
Right.
And I tried my best to just make it, make myself believe that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, I want to make sure that because I wrote down, I really wanted to make this. Yeah, I think I got it all. Yeah. Yeah. So it's to bring it out on like the good side is that like I see that and I see through it now, and I'm like, okay, this is not an option anymore for me or for him. Mm-hmm. And now it's my mission to just follow my heart and like work really hard and create and learn and all this stuff. And that fame and all of that is not at all what it seems.
Right. Definitely.
You know what I mean?
Well, and the nice thing about, the fact that you are, so empowered and you're making your own stuff and you're doing this is that you own whatever happens. I mean,
exactly.
It's all a crapshoot. Believe me, I deal with these thoughts every day.
Mm-hmm.
But, even if he had gotten you to that place and you were famous or whatever, I would imagine there would always be a part of you that knew, why that was the case. And because you're so talented, that should be the reason that you get there.
Exactly.
And not,
And call it the universe or whatever, but I think that that's exactly why, why it ended, why, of course it should end. It's ridiculous. That kind of stuff. And it's not just acting. It's in every single facet of an occupation. Every occupation has these same scenarios, and I think now women are more empowered to just step up and not hide themselves anymore. And you know what is also really interesting is, the traditional understanding of what it is to be a woman, what it is to be a man is evolving in a way that it's not just women are beautiful and vulnerable all the time. Women, it's okay for a woman to be very strong, to make mistakes, to be aggressive. All these traditional male concepts, it's okay for a woman to be. And I think knowing this now and being in this, period of time, like it's helped me be like, okay, no, it's totally fine for me to just do it, to just take the position of power and to do it myself.
Yeah. It's terrific. That's definitely the positive. It's tremendous that, we are making this progress and that, and on the flip side, I don't feel embarrassed now if I'm like crying in a movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Not even a movie. I get teary eyed at Disneyland every time my girlfriend and I are monthly, members and like the parades. I don't know. I think it's just because there's this. It goes to like kind of a dark place in the sense that I just long for childhood magic.
Of
again,
course, that's why we're creators.
Right,
is for that magic.
Exactly. But I'm thankfully Karina doesn't give me a hard time about it. But even like seeing the live shows or any of the stuff, I get like kind of weepy.
Yeah.
It's
And that's okay. Yes.
But I don't care, just I'm doing it again.
I know.
Buzz Lightyear somehow got me. I mean, it's ridiculous.
That's amazing, and that's so beautiful. Oh my God. That's
So I'm glad that we're all
yeah,
the ability to evolve in ways
exactly
vulnerable and
yes,
or strong or what have you.
Yeah, and to admit that you're wrong.
Yeah,
and like it's totally fine to make mistakes and learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are so afraid, like the wrath of God, or like, like, oh God, this one mistake is going to ruin me. And, it might just, but I'm like, awesome.
It could kill you.
It could. But like most of the time you, as a good human, you learn from it. Mm-hmm. And it's the people that hide it and that deny it that suffer the most.
Yeah. Well, how did it feel when you sent did all this end just via text or in person?
It never specifically ended.
A lot of things like that don't.
It's exactly.
But whenever you decided you were done, I mean, what were you feeling?
It was, it's so funny. When I really fell in love, with my amazing boyfriend who I love so much, it just taught me that I didn't need that kind of outward affirmation. I found my true friends. You know what I mean? I found like what it meant when people really cared about me and not just gave me money for stuff or like,
Yeah.
And then obviously I wouldn't ever want to do anything to jeopardize my relationship with my boyfriend. Mm-hmm. So that nips it in the bud right there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, sorry. But I'd like to think that even if I didn't, before I met my boyfriend, it had already ended. And it was just, understanding that was his position and that he would never, he wasn't going to change. Mm-hmm. Bill Edwards wasn't going to change, and he wasn't going to put me in anything, and he just wanted to, reap the benefits.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I imagine there was just like some, like, did it just feel like a weight had been lifted off your shoulders in a way, or? It
did. It did, and it didn't. I have felt so far away from what I thought I was really close to as a success. Mm-hmm. I would watch him on the television accepting a Golden Globe. Right. And I was like, hey, I just saw you accepting a Golden Globe. Yeah. That's so hot. Yeah. You know what I mean? And now I am building it myself.
Right. That's true. Yeah, I guess I didn't. Yeah, there's the I feel like most choices we make, there's conflicting feelings.
Exactly.
Because that must have been terrifying. So you're like, I'm back at square one. I don't know what I'm going to do or how I'm going to do this. Mm-hmm. But also the fact that you weren't living this lie and you didn't have to lie to your mom about who this guy was, or mm-hmm. You didn't have this hovering over. It must have been very sort of, ultimately sweet, but probably in that moment kind of bittersweet.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's really freed me up to not be afraid of the talent that I have and in my commitment and drive. Because one of my favorite things ever, when you're faced with any of these obstacles, any obstacle, it's especially when it involves something that you love, acting is so near and dear to my heart. I love it for reasons that people will never really understand. Mm-hmm. It's not about being famous. It's about understanding. It's empathy. And so when someone tries to take that away from me in my eyes, when, an opportunity is taken away or all this stuff, I'm like, okay, what are you going to do, Maggie? What are you going to do? You going to fucking give up? You going to give up? And the answer is always no.
Yeah.
I'm not fucking giving up. Of course I'm not giving up.
Right.
It's no. Find another way.
Right.
Work harder.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Build something that you're proud of
mm-hmm.
rather than you're ashamed of.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a fine takeaway from this experience. And
I think so too.
Yeah, and I really, again, appreciate you coming on, being vulnerable, sharing your story.
Yeah.
Because you're right, you don't hear this, generally the only stories you hear are the ones that maybe got physical and the person said no and then they left, or, you don't hear this side. And I really, I really appreciate you talking about it.
Of course. I think...
I'm sorry.
No, I just think it's really important because I know that there's a lot of girls out there, and I really hope that they're listening and that they know that they are not alone, girl, and you can do this and you're going to be better than you even dreamed you were.
Well, where can people find you on social media?
Okay, so on social media, my full name is Magdalene Vick, and so on Facebook, just facebook.com/Magdalene Vick, I think, and then on Instagram, it's just Magdalene __ because of course Magdalene _ Vick was already taken.
Damn her!
I know. So Magdalene. What is it? Oh my God, that's so funny.
I'll put it in the description.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're around.
Magdalene _ Vick.
Okay.
That's my name on Instagram. Yeah. And then we're starting our new sketches, which are called Just Mags, with Justin Shankro, who was Harold and Hey Arnold, and me. So that'll be really, really fun.
Well, that's really exciting, and I can't wait to see those sketches and what else you do. And thanks again for coming on.
Yay! No, thank you for having me.
That was the episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I know that I did. It was something I'd never talked with anybody about, and I really just appreciate her candor and openness to explain how it happened and again how far she's come from that experience. So thank you, Maggie, for coming on. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, give us that 5-star rating. Email me at badtimesgoodstoriespodcast@gmail.com. And until next Wednesday, keep laughing. I hope I don't die from this flu.